Tremor.
You will not have my soul.
Your soul is not worth harvesting.
Yes, that is correct, ladies and gentlemen. Tremor has been released today, and it is still July 21st. So, I don't know why the recent rush for getting him out, because he shouldn't be out until next month. Like, pretty much the first Tuesday of next month. Or so I thought. But regardless, what can I say about Tremor? Not very much. Not very much is known about him. He was, his first appearance was in Mortal Kombat Special Forces on the PlayStation 1. But other than that, he's never had an actual game where he was playable until now. So apparently he uses a whole bunch of rock and elemental moves, I guess. But I'm going to show you all of his fatalities, his brutalities, his Xray, which is pretty brutal by the way, and his end story. So let's move on to the final character that is going to be released for Mortal Kombat X. And let's start with his Xray. Now his Xray, you have to be a little bit close to your opponent, but you have some leeway. And once you activate it, it is just totally brutal. And as you can see, it does 7 hits for 35% damage. Now for Fatality 1, the Stone Tomb, you have to be at mid-range and hit down, back, forward, back, X. And this is kind of weird. I didn't get it at first. But let me start off by saying that Tremor is very powerful, but he's kind of slow. Like, I definitely think he's better than the Predator, but he's not as good as Tanya, and definitely not as good as Jason. But yeah, he traps the opponent's feet with rocks, and then crushes them between 2 giant slabs of rock. And that's basically his gimmick. Rock, fire, crystal, gold, lava, all that other shit. So Fatality 2, the Stalag Might, as in Stalag M-I-G-H-T, is done by press at mid-range, and you have to press down, forward, back, forward, square. Now this one was kind of a what the fuck just happened, but it's kind of comical considering he basically summons 3 stalagmites out of the ground that impale the opponent's body, and then he turns his hands into like rock hammers and crushes their head. But the placement of the first stalagmite is kind of a what the fuck moment, as you will see here. So yeah, down, forward, back, forward, square. And the first stalagmite right in the ass. So yeah, it's kind of fucked up. And that's basically it. Moving on to brutalities. Just like Jason Voorhees and Predator, you have to hold, can be done in any variation, and you have to hold down during the final hit, which is the rock bottom. Not the rock, like the wrestler, rock bottom, but it's his Xray. So basically, as soon as you weaken your opponent, you hit your Xray and you immediately hold down, and it's basically a whole bunch of fuckery that I don't think Reptile will ever recover from. So yeah, just basically hold down when you launch your opponent in the air, and boom, just like that. It's kind of funny, but it's not as funny as this next one. Now, to do Brutality 3, it can be done in any variation, and you have to connect all 3 hits on the ground quake, which is done by pressing down, down, circle plus R2. And that's basically your final hit. Now, you must make sure that your opponent is as close to you as possible. So hit down, down, circle plus R2, and all 3 of these attacks have to hit you in case your opponent in stone, he becomes stone, and then Tremor just does this little thing and shatters the skull or the skin. But Brutality 3 is done in the Aftershock variation. Now you have to be jump distance away from your opponent, and your final hit is a rock toss, which is done by pressing back, forward, and triangle. This could be a little bit difficult to pull off, depending on like how decent your opponent is, but the outcome is hilarious, as you will see. Yeah, just try to like use an uppercut and then back forward triangle, throws a rock at their head, the rock becomes their face with a happy face on it, so it's pretty comical. And Brutality 4 is done in the metallic variation. So you have to be jump distance once again, and you have to have gold skin activated. You activate gold skin by pressing down, down, and square. The thing is, when you start the match, you will automatically have gold skin activated. So that was pretty much the reason why it took me a little while to get this one. But your final hit is the gold punch, which is done by pressing down, back, and square. Now it's basically a projectile that you can hold in place for a while and then release, and it will fly across and basically turn your opponent into pure gold. And they fall over, and that's pretty much it. Now the final brutality is done in the crystalline variation. Now you have to have, now each of you and your opponent have to win one round, so it goes into the final round. And then you have to summon a crystal during the final round, which is done by pressing down, forward, and X. And once you have your crystal summoned, your final hit is you have to throw the crystal at your opponent, and that's done by pressing forward and R1 at the crystal. So you basically throw it and you crystallize your opponent, and that's basically it. So enjoy his final story, and this is the end, as far as I know, of the Mortal Kombat breakdowns. So thank you guys for watching, and I will
Standing over Shinnok, Tremor reveled in his power. Much had changed since the Black Dragon's excursion to the Dream Realm. Kano had sent Tremor's team there to retrieve a psych bomb to be used in Kano's theft of Shinnok's amulet. Exposure to that realm had increased Tremor's power and expanded his mind. He would evolve into an earth elemental, a demigod whose power would rival that of Raiden and Fujin.